My name is Proctor. I'm from Windermere Farm in Junction City, Wisconsin, and we have had Highlands at this location for about 14 years. My dad actually is the one to blame for raising Highlands. He bought his first ones in the 1980s, and we had a herd where I grew up of about 30 head. So when I went to grad school and then got married, moved out to Wisconsin, my husband agreed to have some beef cattle, so there was no question they were going to be Highlands like my dad had. So we started our herd with just a couple, and now we have about 35 of them. Part of it is I really enjoy having them around. I like working with the animals. I'm a nutritionist, ruminant nutritionist by day, so I enjoy just the cattle, the science behind it. As far as goals for our farm, we enjoy showing. We like playing with genetics, so I guess our focus is to have a herd of nice, structurally sound cattle with some diverse genetics that we can have fun with in the show ring and sell to people who want to start a herd or add some new genetics to their herds. I'm actually going to share a story from the man who got us started in Highlands, or my dad started in Highlands, and that's Dr. Jim Welch. And Dr. Welch lived just a few miles from where I grew up. He was a nutrition professor at the University of Vermont when I was in school there. And he tells a great story about his first Highlands. He was running a nutrition lab and doing studies on ruminant nutrition and decided to buy these Highlands. I don't remember why, but that breed intrigued him. So he brought them into the research lab and set them up in a stanchion kind of a barn with water cups or water bowls. But the cattle had to learn how to drink out of the water bowls. And he says he and his students would go and push down the paddle with their hand to get the water to flow so the cattle could drink. And the cattle started using their feet to push down on the paddle because that's what they had seen people do. And he attributed that to how smart the Highlands are and how quickly they learn things. Though it wasn't exactly what he was hoping they would learn, because he wanted them to put their noses in, but they went for the feet because that's made sense to them. I'd have two pieces, maybe three pieces of advice. One would be to buy the best cattle that you can afford. Start with good quality cattle. Find a breeder that will mentor you. Then be there when you have questions or concerns, when you need some advice. And thirdly, get yourself a handling facility, a chute at the minimum. Because even though they're cute and they're furry and they're nice and they snuggle a little bit, you can comb them. When you come at them with a needle or need to do a medical procedure, they don't always care for that. And you need a facility to constrain them so it's safe for you, safe for your veterinarian or your hoof trimmer, and safe for the cattle themselves. I would have started with better quality cattle. I was a little bit afraid of the prices when we were first getting started. We visited some very nice farms and the cattle were more expensive than what I was comfortable with. So we ended up buying a few animals off Craigslist that were Highlands, they were registered, but they were not the quality of animal, and I didn't have an eye at that stage to really evaluate them well. I am really excited actually about this breed right now. My dad, back in the 80s, people always would say, well, Highlands, someday they're gonna make it. They're gonna be valuable, they're gonna be worth more. And I used to joke about that because the prices he was paying back in the 80s were about the same prices that we're paying in the early to mid 2000s. So I'm excited that the quality of the cattle has increased dramatically, as have the prices for the cattle, which as a seller is very helpful. It maybe makes it a little more difficult for people to get started, but I'm excited to see the quality that's coming.